Hello, welcome back to another video. So for this week's video I'm gonna share a current full week of workouts. Now the last time I did a full week of workouts I was still following programs in the gym, I was still following like a very structured workout routine, and this year that has completely changed for me and I'm actually not doing that anymore. So if you're in the market for more full week of workouts videos, let me know, because I don't do the same workouts every single week anymore. This is just a week of workouts for me. Now, being completely honest, my workouts stay very similar week to week. I'm not saying like one week I'm doing a totally different split to the next week and like absolutely new movements, like trying new things every single week. That's definitely not the case. Like for the past few weeks, these workouts are pretty much the workouts I've been doing. If you've been keeping up with my vlogs, you'll know that. But for me personally, this year, I would say over the past like 18 months, I've just massively changed my views on fitness and how I sort of want that to look. And I want to disclaim really quickly, if you are wanting very specific results, if you're working on a tight timeline, you know, you've got a very clear goal in mind and you're wanting to progress on certain lifts, or you're really wanting to just do things very specifically, I would not recommend, you know, doing different workouts every single week. That's not how I would recommend training. But for me at the moment, where I'm at with my fitness, I'm just not in that sort of a phase with it. I began to really hate the gym and I wasn't enjoying it anymore, and I've spoken about that a few times, and like I'd re-spark my energy and then it would just dissipate so quickly. And I can honestly say over the past few months, ever since I just stopped following a strict program, that like spark of energy has maintained at a much higher sort of base level. Yes, I still have days where I can't be a fucking ass to go to the gym. I still have those days, but they're not as frequent. They're quite like far and few between. I couldn't stay consistent with things. I was just really struggling with things, and I feel like when I did my 75 slight struggle at the start of this year, if anyone followed along with that, I kept, you know, wondering why. And I did actually do like a follow-up video at the end of that about like my training sessions and stuff, and I did say like I wasn't able to get all my training sessions in that I'd set myself, and I feel like it's just because I was forcing myself to follow a program and I just wanted the gym to be fun again. So moving my body in a way that I enjoy, having fun with it, trying different things, trying new things. Let's say one week I decide I want to do slightly different workouts, or I want to structure things differently, or one week I want to do much like higher rep stuff, the next week I want to do much lower rep stuff, more like strength work, the next week I want to just do like straight up moderate shit like hypertrophy typical training. That's what I've been doing, and I am much preferring my training, and I'm able to stay consistent, and I have actually made progress in terms of my physique through doing this. But I don't think it's because I'm like shocking my body every single week and doing different stuff every single week. It's just because in this way of training I've been able to be fucking consistent with it, which I just wasn't able to do when I was just hating the gym, not enjoying my weight sessions at all. And I've spoken about it a lot recently, but I've just completely taken the pressure off. So I'm not following a structured training program. Having said that, I do still do fairly similar workouts, but if I want to do something different, I will, and I'm not putting that pressure on myself anymore. I'm not actually putting a ton of pressure on myself to be like progressively overloading every single week, especially because some weeks I do just do completely different shit. You can't do that. It's like sometimes you will have to massively drop the weights if it's a movement you've not done in a while, or a new movement that you're trying. But I'm not super hyper focused on that at the moment, and I'm also trying new things outside of that. So a massive thing for me recently has been cardio. That's something that I've been working on a lot more. I love doing sprints on a treadmill now. Like I actually love doing sprints. I've been doing some outdoor running. I've done a 3k, I've done a 5k, which I did in sub 30, which for my first ever 5k and my second ever outdoor run, it wasn't too shabby. I was quite proud of that. I've started doing hot yoga. I want to look into doing some Pilates. Like I want to be doing different stuff, and ever since I've started doing different stuff outside of the gym and just looking at my health more sort of holistically and doing what makes me feel good, I'm enjoying weight training again. Lo and behold, who would have thought when you just take the pressure off, you actually enjoy things a little bit more, and you can apply that to anything in life. So split wise, I will run you through it. This week of workouts was the week of workouts just gone, and I have been doing these workouts for a while now. If you want to do these workouts consistently week on week as like a full-blown program for yourself, you can. Like, there's nothing stopping you doing that. And I will leave like sets and reps and everything so that if you want to do this as a program, you can. If you were to like implement this as a program, it's very lower body dominant. There's a sprinkle of upper body. You've got some cardio in there as well. It's not like the most well-rounded program, but it's specific to me. This is how I've been training. So yeah, I'm going to run you through the split and then I will voice over the workouts for you. So at the moment, I'm in the gym weight training 4 to 5 days a week, usually 4 days a week, because I'm not usually hitting upper twice a week. I'm usually doing it once. I'm doing a hot yoga session a week. Sometimes I'm doing an outdoor run, but I've not done one in a couple of weeks and I didn't do one this week. That's like the bird's eye overview. And in terms of split for this full week of workouts, I did 3 lower body sessions and then I did 1 upper body session. Now this is very specific to me and it's a little bit of a touchy subject for people. I feel like people sometimes get the knickers in a twist, but again, this just highlights everyone is very different. And for me personally, genetically, I can build, and by the way, I'm not saying I have like a huge upper body because I don't, because I actively don't train upper body much. So when you see my upper body, don't be like, oh my god, this bitch lying. When I train upper body consistently 2 times a week, I see very, 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 very quick growth. And for me personally, I don't want that for myself, so I don't do it. Genetically, I build muscle a lot quicker in my upper body than I do my lower body. And for me personally, I just prefer feeling more sort of proportional everywhere rather than having like, you know, a absolutely wham lower body and like a tiny teeny upper body, or like a wham upper body and like a smaller lower body. Like, I just want to be more proportional, and I am feeling like the way that I've been training, I'm moving more in that direction, so I am happy with how things are looking. But I do only hit upper body once a week. There's no chest in this full week of workouts, but you kind of add it in. I don't train chest because I can't, because of my implants. They're under the muscle and I find it really, really, really uncomfortable to hit chest with implants. I only train upper body once a week because it's not a keen area for me. Also, when I do program it twice a week, I just don't want to do it. I don't enjoy it. And going back to what I said at the start of this video, for me with fitness at the moment, I just want to be healthy, happy and enjoying what I'm doing. Like, that's what I want to be doing in general in life, but also with my fitness as well. And it is reflected in my workouts because I am just doing things that I enjoy at the moment. And if you have a very specific goal, you can't get away with just doing things that you enjoy. But if you're not competing, you don't have a specific goal in mind, and you're sort of feeling in a rut with like your workouts and stuff, and you can't really put your finger on why you're feeling this way, take the pressure off, because there is really no need for you to be so specific with your training and so dialed in with it if you don't have a specific goal in mind, especially if you're not enjoying it. But if you do, I'm not saying this will be the best way to go about things. I'm just talking from my point of view. I'm doing cardio twice a week, which will be in the form of lifts. So I will either do the stairs if I'm doing lifts, low intensity steady state. You basically just keep it as like at a steady pace basically for about, I do 20 to 30 minutes on the stairs if I am doing the stairs, and then I do sprints. Sometimes I do it for both cardio sessions a week, sometimes I just do it for one, but I do those on the treadmill, and I will explain to you how I do those when I get onto it. And currently I'm hitting lower body 2 to 3 times a week. In this full week of workouts, it's 3 times a week, and you will note that there isn't a ton of volume in each training session because I am hitting lower body 3 times a week. You really need to consider this. Like, if you're only training legs once a week, you can put more volume in it, but if you want to hit legs 3 times a week, you really shouldn't be putting more than like 4 to 5 movements in a session. Obviously it depends on where you are in your fitness journey, but for context, I'm quite far into mine now, so I prefer to train with a lower volume but a higher intensity. Yeah, I'm hitting lower body 3 days a week, and the split sort of changes week to week depending on what training session I do, but I will talk you through how I split it on this specific week. And like I said, if you did want to follow this as a program, it would be really good if you've got lower body growth goals, and also if you've got cardiovascular goals that you want to work on, and if you're someone who genetically you build muscle really fast in your upper body and it's not something that you want to capitalize on. it might be a good program for you as well. So yeah, I'm gonna insert the footage of all of my workouts from this week so you guys can see. I'll give you a voiceover, I'll explain the movements, I will leave you sets and reps as well, so if you want to like completely replicate this, you can. I want to put as much information in this video as possible, but yeah, I will voice over the workouts for you guys now so that you can see. Okay, so day one was glutes and quads for me this week. So I started off with hip thrust, and I have actually been doing these quite consistently even though my workouts have been changing. For one workout every week, I have been keeping like a heavier hip thrust at the start because I do enjoy hip thrusting again and I do want to get my strength back up a little bit here. It did massively fall off. So I've gone through this so many times when it comes to form, but ideally you want a 90-degree angle with your shins at the top of the movement. You want to try and keep that barbell like directly over your glutes. Try not to roll it down onto your thighs. That's a mistake that I started making when I started upping the weights, and I wasn't really getting a great connection with my glutes anymore. And then you'll see that my upper body is sort of moving in unison, like the whole thing is moving at the same time. I'm not like duck-arsing on the way down, and of course fully locking out at the top of every single rep, because if you're not doing that, then you are not getting the most out of your hip thrust movement. You need to make sure that you are locking out properly at the top of every single rep. So after this, I did some dumbbell step-ups. This is another movement that I do find myself doing weekly because I just love them regardless. So I actually much prefer doing step-ups when I can hold on to something. So if you don't have a setup in your gym where you can do these, where you can hold on to a pole or something to wrap your hand around for balance, because I'm really trying to focus on my glutes here, not my balance, I'd recommend trying cable step-ups instead, because then you've automatically got the cable tower to hold on to. But I just find that if I don't have something to hold on to, I really can't focus on pushing my hips back as much, which is really important. If you are wanting to bias your glutes when it comes to your step-ups, you want to make sure that you're really pushing your hips back when you come down, and you're sort of moving more like diagonally back rather than just like straight up and down. And of course, you want to make sure that that back foot is more so tapping off the floor. So I would actually say with these 2 reps, I'm definitely pressing off that back leg a bit too much. I did fix up towards the end of this set, but I would recommend that you just lightly tap that back leg on the floor, because that's not the glute of the leg. That's not the leg that you are working. It's the one that's up on the box. So yeah, my main tips will be to have something to hold on to and make sure that you are moving sort of diagonally back, not just straight up and down. So then I moved on to a much more quad bias movement. Obviously those first 2 are very glute focused, and I'm really trying to bias my glutes with that. So then I'm doing some heel elevated narrow goblet squats. This is honestly one of my favorite movements when it comes to quads. I really just focus on pushing my knees as far forward as I can get them, and doing these really slow and controlled as well, and also trying to stay as upright as I can with my posture. But I just love doing this movement so much, and especially when you do these, if you rush through them, I really don't feel like you get the most out of them. But when you really slow these right down, it's one of my favourite quad movements. I just love doing it. But yeah, you really want to try and push your knees as far forward as you can, and that heel elevation will help you with this, and it'll help you hit your quads a little bit more. And obviously you're doing a narrow stance as well. But yeah, just pushing your knees as far forward as they will go. And again, with all of my workouts, even though, you know, I might not have the craziest goals right now, I'm really making sure to train with a good level of intensity, because this workout has only got 4 movements in. So training with a good level of intensity is very important. If you're going to do the whole like lower volume thing, you need to make sure that you know how to train with intensity to be able to make the most of the workouts. And then I finished off this session just with some leg extensions. So the main thing with these that I see sometimes even when I watch my own videos or when I'm helping clients is just not controlling the weight at all, just sort of flinging the weight up. So instead of doing that, I want you to think about contracting your quads to lift that pad up. Like, I want you to think about that initiating the movement, not like the momentum of swinging your shins forwards, if that makes sense. And again, if you are training with the right intensity, if you were ever curious as to know if you train with a good level of intensity or not, if you're training with a good level of intensity, your last reps should not look anywhere near how your first reps look. That's a pretty good indicator. So on this day, I just did cardio. This was just a cardio only day for me, and I was actually doing some sprints. So I do a little bit of a warm up first. I'll walk for a few minutes on the treadmill, and then I work into some like very light jogs. I also do some like dynamic stretches and stuff before, but they're honestly just really boring. I just do like leg swings, hamstring sweeps, all that sort of stuff. And then I'm slowly but surely making sure I've, appropriately dressed, because sprinting in joggers would actually kill me. So here I'm just getting changed on the treadmill, classic. But yeah, for my sprints, I am currently doing 16, I think, which again, that might not be a sprint to some people, but I have a fear of falling off the treadmill, okay? Like, I am so scared of just flying off the belt. So I do, if anyone was curious about speeds, at the moment, I do 16 and then 5, but I will usually just actually jump on the side of the treadmill. This is something that used to terrify me, and I've not yet mastered jumping back off when it's moving quick. So as you'll see, I do actually go back on when it's on speed 5 for a walk, and then I go back up to 16 again. But I sprint for about 45 seconds to a minute, and then I do a minute off, and I do this for 20 minutes. And I absolutely love doing it. I feel so good when I've done it. I just love, like, the endorphins that I get when I've done sprints are just elite. Like, I just love it so much. So then I did some core work, which I do 1 to 2 times a week. I do different core work depending what I'm feeling on the day. On this day, I just wanted to do some assisted sort of leg raises and crunches. So the key with any core work, and to be honest, anything in the gym in general, is just slow and controlled, not rushing through the movement and not flinging and flailing your limbs around everywhere. Like, as you can see, I'm really using my core to pull me up here. My core is engaged. I'm keeping my back as flat as I can to the pad that's behind me, just to make sure that I am actually using my core when it comes to bringing my knees up. So I did some knees up, more like assisted hanging crunches almost, and then I went into some leg raises, and I pretty much just do these until I can't do them anymore, and then I stop. But yeah, I do this 1 to 2 times a week. Sometimes I'll do some core work on the floor, like on a mat, but I would say I actually probably prefer doing this. This is definitely my favourite way to train core, but again, slow and controlled, not just like flailing my limbs around everywhere. But yeah, that is the core workout that I did this week. Okay, so Wednesday's session this week was a very quad heavy day with a little sprinkle of calves and a tiny little bit of glutes. So to start with, I did some pendulum squats. I absolutely love pendulum squats. I know that most people hate these, but I love them. I prefer it to the hack squat. I don't know why, I just love it. The main thing with this is just to make sure that you are really controlling the speed of your reps. Again, this is the theme here, just control. You don't want your body to basically sort of buckle under the weight. You don't want the weight to be pushing you down. You want to be controlling the weight on the way down and on the way up. Like, I'm not going super, super, super fast on the way down and then really slow on the way up. The speed at which I'm moving is pretty consistent, because I want to make sure that it's me controlling the weight, and then really pressing up through my quads. This definitely does hit your glutes as well, but this just absolutely tears my quads up. And I do use knee sleeves on this day because I find it really does help with my lifts when I do this training session. I don't wear knee sleeves all the time, but when I'm doing a very quad intense day, I do like to use my knee sleeves. So moving on, I'm then doing the leg press. Obviously, you can put your feet wherever you want, but on this day, I decided to do high-ish on the platform and narrow. So this is a tiny bit more glutes, but also very much quad focused as well. So main things here are just to make sure that you actually use the handles on the leg press, which sounds really dumb, but if you are someone who leg presses and finds that you get a lot of lower back pain, I can probably almost guarantee that your lower back is probably lifting off the seat, and you're pressing through your lower back, not necessarily your quads, your glutes, etc. So I like to make sure that I really pull myself down into the seat with the handles. It gives me a lot more stability and make sure that I'm like firmly planted into the leg press. And obviously in terms of range of motion as well, I like to bring my knees as close to my chest as I possibly can. And again, like I already spoke about with some other training sessions that we've gone over, the speed of those reps should be slowing down as you get further on in a set. If your first rep looks the same as your last rep, you are probably not training hard enough. I did actually have to push my legs back up because doing the leg press after pendulum squats is incredibly humbling, but I really like doing it. It took my body a while to be able to recover from doing this. So I then decided to do some calves, which, as we can tell, I don't do calves all the time, guys. I'm not a calves queen. I don't train calves all the time, but I do really like using this machine for calves. I call it the thought calf machine because it does look a little bit suspect, but just make sure that whatever you're using, whether it's this machine or a seated one, let your heels drop below like the panel that you are, or like the step that you are pushing off, just to really get a good stretch in your calves. You want to make sure that you are getting a good level of stretch and a nice full range of motion, and then obviously press it back up through your calves. Moving on, some cable abduction work. For my abduction work, my favourite way to do it is standing, and cable abductions are my favourite way to do it. So I set it to the bottom of the cable tower. I put the ankle attachment around my ankle. I know that people put them in all different places, but this is just my personal favourite way of doing it. And then basically kicking directly out to the side. So obviously you've got kickbacks, you've got glute medius kickbacks, then you've got cable abductions. These are cable abductions, so my leg is moving just straight out to the side of my body, and I love doing these for my abduction work. I don't do them all the time. Honestly, I probably do standard kickbacks or glute medius kickbacks more, but this week, I don't know, I just wanted to do something a bit different. Again, just wanted to switch things up a bit. So yeah, cable abductions, and again, slow and controlled. I feel like a lot of people rush cable work, especially when it comes to kickback variations. So make sure that you're doing them nice and slow and controlled. There's no need to rush, guys. Okay, so I did actually end up training upper body this week. Shock. So I started off with some dumbbell shoulder presses. The angle of this is throwing me off because in the mirror, it looks like I am bringing those dumbbells down to my chin, but on here, it looks like I'm bringing them all the way down. I do like to just bring them down to about chin height and then press back up. I do angle my elbows slightly inwards a little bit, not like fully inwards, but slightly inwards. And in terms of the seat setup, I don't like it being bolt upright. I have it like one notch back. I just find it a lot more comfortable. And yeah, that honestly isn't, I feel like a shoulder press is such a basic movement, guys. I feel like there isn't too much to go over. But yeah, you don't need to bring the dumbbells all the way down to your shoulders. You can just bring them down to about chin height. You're not going to die. It won't kill you. Moving on. Oh my God, I got asked about this the other day. There is no rhyme or reason as to why I do these sitting on the floor instead of sitting on, for example, the machine that you can literally see in front of me. I just much prefer it. So I'm doing some seated cable rows, like seated pull downs, basically. I honestly just much prefer doing them this way. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the specific angle that I sit at when I do these, but I get such a good connection with my back when I do this, and I just much prefer it. And I feel like here is a really good example of, I feel like my back looks quite wham, guys, and I do not train upper body seriously or consistently at all. But yeah, there is no rhyme or reason truly as to why I do these sat on the floor like this. I just like doing them that way. That is literally it. I then decided that I wanted to do some single arm work, so I did some single arm lat pull downs. Again, I moved the cable attachment down ever so slightly just so that it was more comfortable, and again, just with the previous movement that I did as well, making sure that I'm fully stretching my arms up before I pull back down. And with these as well, I like to sort of switch my grip. So you'll see as my arm moves up, my palm is facing the floor, and then I switch it to be moving inwards. I love doing these. It's probably one of my favorite back movements to do. Again, honestly, this one and the one I've just shown you, top two back movements for me. I just get a really good connection on them. I like doing them. They feel good. They don't feel uncomfortable, and I enjoy doing them, so that's why I do them. Same rule goes with this as with any movement that I have put in this workout so far. Slow and controlled. There's no need to rush. You want to make sure that you're properly using your muscles to actually move the weight, not just momentum, not flailing around, not swinging things around. So yeah, I absolutely love doing this movement. And then I did also do some dumbbell lateral raises and some bicep curls. I basically switch my upper body workouts week to week. One week I'll do biceps, the other week I'll do triceps. Again, no rhyme or reason. I don't have specific goals to grow my upper body at the moment. Therefore, I just do whatever tickles my pickle on the day. My upper body workout is probably the one that I switch around the most because I just want my upper body workouts to remain fun for me. Otherwise, I won't do them. So yeah, but I didn't film those. There was a reason why, and I can't quite remember the reason why, but there was a reason why I didn't film them. But they're very self-explanatory and I have done them before. Finished off with 30 minutes on the stairs, just doing lifts on level 6. So yeah, this is my cardio done for the week. And she's hopping off. Bye, Queen. Okay, final session of the week, and I finish off my week with glutes and hamstrings. So I'm starting off with RDLs, honestly one of my favourite movements. It's such a staple movement for me. Even when I'm, doing different workouts all the time, RDLs do remain quite staple. So you're going to pick up the weight, walk back a few steps so that you've got enough room to hinge your hips back, and you want to make sure you are pushing your hips back. If you find that the bar comes out really far in front of you, imagine that you are pinning your shins with the bar. The bar does not need to be like way out in front of you. You want to keep it as close to your body as possible and focus on pushing your hips back. And if you can't do this, practice in front of a wall and practice trying to hit the wall with your glutes by pushing your hips back. It's not a very natural movement that comes naturally to people. So if you do struggle with these, it's quite normal to struggle with them. I don't want anyone to feel like they're dumb because everyone does RDLs and they just can't get it. I find with coaching people as well, it's one of hip hinge is just something that doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. So yeah, you just want to make sure that you are pushing your hips back, slight bend in the knee. I don't do a crazy bend in the knee, and you'll see like you don't need to bring the weight all the way down. You just need to bring it down to the point where your hips can't move back anymore. And as soon as your hips have fully hinged as far back as you can push them, you're going to bring the weight back up. And I feel like you can really see here, I'm using my glutes to thrust the weight back up. I'm not just pulling it with my lats and my arms. I'm really making sure that I'm engaging my glutes and hamstrings to get the weight back up. And again, that last rep looking nowhere near as easy or as smooth as the first rep was, because that's how it should be if you are training with good intensity. But yeah, if you don't get RDLs, you're not on your own, and they are a hard movement to nail down. So then I wanted to do some lighter weight hip thrusts, but I've been really bored of just doing like bridges, calf glute bridges. So I've actually been doing triple contraction hip thrusts, which I've not done since lockdown, but I've done them 2 weeks in a row now, and I just love doing them. So I'm just doing a warm up to make sure that I've got the movement right, because I am using a slightly different bench here, which is actually a little bit too low for me. I should have just used the normal hip thrust setup, but I didn't want to, so that was that. But yeah, triple contraction hip thrust form, which I've already gone over in this video, but you're then just going to do 3 contractions at the top, then come down, then 3 contractions at the top. Obviously, you're not going to be able to lift anywhere near as much weight as you can on a standard barbell hip thrust for these, so you will need to drop the weight significantly. It's definitely not the best movement for working on strength, but this is just a fun hip thrust variation, and I love the burn that I get. The burn isn't the be all end all, but again, I'm going for enjoyment at the moment, and what can I say, I'm a sadist, guys. I love the burn I get. Final movement of this session. Wait, no, it's not the final movement of this session. I'm just wishing the session away. I moved on to doing some cable kickbacks. So these are standard cable kickbacks, not glute medius kickbacks, not cable abductions, just straight back. So I'm setting up, putting the cable to the bottom of the tower, taking a few steps back, and then I like to grab onto the tower just so that I've got a bit more stability, and just kicking straight back. And again, slow and controlled. You don't need to fling the weight up. It's not a competition to see how quickly you can move your leg. You want to make sure that you are actually using your glute to kick back. It sounds really dumb, but a lot of people don't. They will just swing their leg back and forth. Anything that you struggle to really feel like a movement is connecting properly, slow it down a little bit and really think about the movement pattern. Think about the muscles that you're trying to use. I love doing cable kickbacks, standard cable kickbacks, glute medius kickbacks, cable abductions. I really like doing them. I feel like it's a good way of adding in a little bit more glute volume without absolutely tearing up your glutes. Like, this is not going to damage or like rip up your glutes like, I don't know, Bulgarian split squats would. You can get a lot more volume in with movements like this. And then I'm just doing the other leg. So yeah, these were my kickbacks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to go over with form. You can stand on a plate as well if you want to make sure that your leg stays straight. But honestly, I find I get on with this movement better with a slight bend in my knee. That could be completely wrong, and that might not be the way that people would say that you're meant to do it. But honestly, I feel like I get on with this movement better with a slight bend in my knee. And I do feel like with training, to an extent, right is right, wrong is wrong. But I just feel like little tweakments for you to make a movement feel right for you can make the biggest difference. And again, just because it's accessory work, it doesn't mean you need to be a bitch about it. Make sure that you are still training close to failure if you want to actually see some progress. Final movement in this session then is hamstring curls. So I switch up between seated and lying, but on this day in particular, I decided I wanted to do some lying hamstring curls. So you want to make sure that your hips are properly driven into the pad and locked down into the pad. You don't want your hips to be lifting and your arse going up in the air. And again, you want to make sure that you are using your hamstrings to lift the weight. You're not just flinging your legs up in the air. And really, really, really try and drive your hips down into the pad. You'll see as my reps go on, and as this obviously gets harder for me, my hips do lift a little bit. But trust me, on every single rep, I'm really trying to drive my hips into the pad and lift with as much control as possible to make sure I'm actually engaging my hamstrings and not just, again, using momentum, using force, using swing to get the weight from A to B, because that is not a good way to be training. I feel like it's on this rep in particular, which is coming up, where my hips really shoot up from the pad. Or is this just the rep where I couldn't get the weight up? But again, the reps are massively slowing down and I couldn't actually complete that rep. I wouldn't count that because I didn't get full range of motion. But yeah, that was my final movement of my full week of workout. Yeah, that is how a full week of workouts looked for me this week. But obviously, like I mentioned at the start of this video, I'm not doing the same workouts every single week currently. That's not to say I will never write up a program again and I will never follow a structured program again and I will never have a specific goal again. I feel like it is one of those things that maybe just naturally happens over time. Like, I have been going to the gym since I was like 16, 17. I'm 25 now. Like, honestly, it's impressive that I'm still going to the gym, in my opinion. Like, this is one of my longest standing hobbies. I've really taken it and ran with it. But I don't necessarily think it's realistic to be able to follow programs week in, week out, like on that sort of level forever. I don't think it's plausible. I'm also just a lot more flexible with my routine in general. So like, obviously, generally I'm training 4 to 5 days a week in the gym, but if I've got a week where I've got more on and I need to skip sessions, I can honestly hand on heart say stuff like that does not bring me stress. It doesn't stress me out anymore. I'm much more relaxed with my approach to things. I'm much more relaxed with my approach to food. I'm enjoying doing different things. Obviously, every Thursday, if I can, I do go and do hot yoga, which I'll speak a little bit about because obviously I've not been able to film that, but I just find the benefits of that for like my brain are really, really, really good. And just doing things that are outside of the gym but still moving my body and getting a bit of a workout in makes me enjoy and appreciate my weight sessions more, because I've got more of a balance to my training, if that sort of makes sense. Even things like doing my cardio makes me appreciate my weights more because there's just more balance to my training now. I feel like I'm fitter and healthier all over, and I did start working on my cardiovascular fitness just over a year ago. Like, seriously, I started doing like cardio properly again, regardless of any goal that I had at the time. But I do feel a lot better for it. I feel like physique wise as well. Obviously, I know that people will say like, don't train for aesthetics, but like, I will be completely honest, there still is, even though in this video I'm like training for health and happiness and doing what I enjoy, like I'm doing what I enjoy, but in a way that's also gonna have my physique look in a way that I'm happy with, because that is also important to me. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. I think a lot of people chat absolute bollocks when they say that they don't care at all about how they look. I do care, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in my body at the moment. I feel like, and I've spoken about this a million times before, but I feel like for the longest time I was trying to fit a circle into a square. Like, I was trying to force my body to be something that it's not meant to be. Like, I'm 5'6". I'm not saying that makes me a giant, but it does make me taller than most people that are in like the fitness world online. I don't naturally store more stuff on my lower body. I actually store more fat generally on my upper body, my arms, my back. That's where my body fat tends to be stored. I'm not naturally built to be more bottom heavy than top heavy, and I felt like I was just constantly stuck in bulk and cut cycles, and I'm just not in a phase at the moment where I want to be doing that. I'm not in a phase at the moment where I want my training to be reflecting that, and I do feel a lot better. I have intentionally leaned out over like a very long period of time. I've not done it quick. It's honestly been super slow. It's very subtle changes, but for me personally, like, I've just feel a lot more comfortable in my body. I've lent a lot more into how I'm naturally meant to be built, but like how I naturally am built, rather than trying to force my body to be something that it's just not meant to be. And you might be the polar opposite to me. You might be, you know, naturally built a very different way to me, and leaning into that, whatever that may be, if it's polar opposite, however it is, honestly probably going to be the way that you will feel most comfortable. Because even from a mental point of view, just trying to like force yourself to look a way that is just so obscenely hard for you to maintain. And honestly, I just found in the end it wasn't worth it for me anymore. Constantly bulking and then cutting, I wasn't really like truly happy at either point. So I just decided I'm just going to accept more of how I'm naturally built. And that doesn't mean like I don't want to build muscle or I wouldn't like to add some size in certain areas, but it does mean that I'm not really putting too much emphasis on that at the moment. The only thing I want to feel is comfortable in my body. I want to feel proportional, I want to feel healthy, and I want to feel comfortable in myself, and I really do at the moment. So yeah, my training has changed. Well, the way I train hasn't changed a lot, but my view on training has changed so much in the past 18 months. Even just the fact that I'm not following like a structured workout program at the moment, and in theory I could be doing different workouts every single week at the moment, is mental to me, because that's just not something that I've ever really done since I started the gym, other than right at the start when I didn't really know what I was doing. But it's so freeing. Feel like it's given me my spark back for the gym. I feel like I'm back in love with training again, which makes me really happy, because I just wasn't for like the longest time. So yeah, if you are in the same spot at the moment and you feel like you're in a rut, take the pressure off yourself first of all to always be following like a really set program and have very specific goals and all this sort of stuff. Take the pressure off. Do things that you enjoy. Maybe take a month or so. If you want to go back to programming, that's fine, but maybe take a month or so to just sort of give yourself a little bit of a breather in terms of following like a structured program all the time. Just have that little break and see how you feel just going and doing what you feel like doing on the day. And also try and do some different ways of training. So if you only do weights at the moment, maybe try and add in some cardio and see if that makes you feel any better, if that makes it more enjoyable. Try some different things outside the gym. You could try running, yoga, Pilates, CrossFit, like whatever it is that you want to dip your toes into. It just might help you re-spark your energy for your weight training and your lifting, because it's massively helped with my feelings towards that. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this video here. If you guys have got any questions on the training, my form, the program, well, same program, but like you can follow it as a program if you want to, how I'm training at the moment, anything that I've spoken about in this video, please just leave it down below. If you would like more full week of workouts videos, because the reason why I couldn't do these frequently before was because honestly I would follow a program for like 6 months, because I was a routine girl. Like I loved having the same thing week in week out for like months, and I would just sort of slightly tweak things but honestly train the same way for like 6 months at a time. Obviously I'm not doing that anymore, so we've got more room to do more different full week of workouts. If you guys want to see more of these, let me know, because I can film them for you. But yeah, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to and you haven't already, and yeah, let me know what other videos you guys want to see. I hope this was helpful. And I hope as well, if you are in the same boat and you're feeling a bit shit about training and like lacking energy, lacking motivation at the moment, I hope that this has been able to remind you that you don't, like if you're not bodybuilding and you don't have a specific goal in mind, you really don't need to put this pressure on yourself to follow a strict program or train in a very specific way. Like, you do you, take your foot off the gas a little bit, you know, release pressure a little bit. But yeah, I hope you guys have a gorgeous day. Sunday, Monday, it will go up on one of the two. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.